Godsworn is a real-time strategy game where you take control of a divine hero, gather worshippers, rally great armies of mortals and mythical creatures, and crush your enemies with spells, steel, fangs, and claws in amazing combat worthy of Age of Mythology or Warcraft. During Steam's Strategy Fest, this classic mythological RTS will have a new public demo version for you to play and enjoy. It will be live from August 21st to September 5th, along with co-op multiplayer. Link to the store page and demo is in the description below. Godsworn is developed by a handful of talented indie developers and RTS enthusiasts from Thunder Oak Interactive, and the reason I have been following it for years, as well as featuring it in my list of upcoming real-time strategy games, is because it has a lot of promise for quality gaming. It is simple to pick up and start playing. It's based on a familiar system. It does not overcomplicate anything and has a comfortable gameplay speed that won't feel too fast for newcomers or too slow for RTS veterans. This is mostly due to spacious maps as well as neutral enemies to defeat and new villagers to rescue. Players are also prevented from turtling a lot by the extra resource nodes spread across the map, while you do have some options for increasing resource production inside your own base. And base building is a core gameplay element in both skirmish and multiplayer matches, as well as wave survival game mode. There are resource collection buildings for wood, food and other materials, while some can be found on the map protected by neutral creeps, which are not difficult to defeat but slow down the initial phase of gameplay, very reminiscent of Warcraft 3 and one of my favorite features. Units are recruited from several different buildings, each one specializing in a certain type of soldiers, spellcasters or beasts, and enabling future upgrades which need to be purchased. This of course costs all sorts of resources, some of which have nodes deeper into the map which you must first clear of creeps and then construct your resource collectors on top of. Because of this, harassing enemy players will be much easier and skirmishes all over the map are more likely to happen, as both players try to protect their own income as well as reduce the enemy's resource collection. The shrine is your HQ in Godsworn, and it also needs upgrading to unlock more advanced buildings and units. A really cool spell to spy on the enemy is a charging horse made of light, which you can direct and dispel the fog of war for a short while. Besides purely combat focused units, you also have the healers in each faction, some of which can heal one unit at a time and others can do mass heals. The AI is no pushover, and if you think you can escape the multiplayer to do some comp stomping, get ready for a surprise. Even the developers themselves sometimes lose at high difficulty settings against the AI. Large beasts can deal a lot of damage to player buildings because of their fire-breathing attack, and buildings generally aren't tanky, so defending your base is a high priority in this game. One of the rare ways of turtling up in Godsworn is using spells to create resource-generating objects inside your base. These require workers and the spells have a cooldown period, so don't expect to close up your turtle shell quickly. Currently, there are two factions in the game, the Baltic Pagans and the Order of Crusaders, and there will be many more heroes than the two you see in the gameplay of the Baltic faction. The Order faction is your main enemy in the wave defense gameplay mode, which I will show later in this video. Both of these factions have a unique style, from buildings and units down to spells and appearances. Wealth and Fate are the two more difficult resources to acquire, and a very interesting feature is the ability of one of the units to scavenge enemy corpses for extra wealth. Godsworn is absolutely loaded with such cool features, and the developers have more great ideas in store for us to enjoy. Now let's talk about the cooperative multiplayer game mode, where you start on the same side and have to build up a huge base and lots of units to survive the oncoming waves of enemies from the Crusaders Order faction. The maps are a bit different, but not by much, just enough to let you have more of a defender's advantage and place turrets more opportunistically to slow down enemy units as they come to tear down your main shrine. Here you can see the different skills and spells of the other hero from the Baltic faction, one of which is this really useful mass stun trap for regular enemy units. This mode is not easy at all, and even with 2 players defending, you can get overwhelmed very quickly. This is why using units like the fire-breathing monster of myth and legend is so useful, as it deals area damage to many enemy units, and it is especially useful in tight spaces like these hilltop approaches. This game is shaping up to be a great addition to all the new indie RTS games out there coming up in 2023 and 2024, and you can bet I will be playing it with you. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!